Light Yagami and Saiki Kusuke. Both are geniuses in their own right, but in completely different ways. One is a self-proclaimed god who manipulates the world through fear, while the other is a prodigy who sees only his brother as a worthy opponent, viewing everyone else as little more than monkeys. But the real question is, if these two were to face off in a battle of wits, who would outsmart the other? To find out, we'll break down their feats in a range of categories to see who would truly come out on top. But before that, subscribe. The goal is 15k, so if you enjoy, sub up. To begin, let's compare them in terms of general intelligence. First off, fluid intelligence. Let's begin with Light. One instance is from his potato chip camera gambit. With 64 cameras watching his every move, Light invents a system to secretly watch news and write names undetected, timing every gesture to perfection. One slip and he's caught as Kira, but Light adjusts to every new detail in real time, calculating risks and improvising flawlessly under constant pressure. So from his creativity using the Death Note and his control of the perception L and the police agencies had on him, he was able to control his situation insanely well even until the moment of his defeat. So Light's fluid intelligence is insanely high due to the necessity of adaptability and problem solving in his situation, being surrounded by eyes and having to prove his innocence while pursuing his ideology. But how does Kusuke compare? From the moment he was born, Kusuke's reasoning ability was already inhumane. By just 1 month old, he was speaking in full sentences. By age 2, he was solving puzzles, mathematics, and even writing fluently. When his parents read him stories, he predicted how they'd end before the pages turned, accurately anticipating the conclusion to Momotaro. This was aligned with pattern recognition and abstract reasoning, the ability to identify cause, narrative flow, and outcomes in real time. And mind you, he's only 2 years old. That same ability would become a cornerstone of Kusuke's intelligence as he grew. During the festival scene, Kusuke and Kusuo engaged in a shooting game where Kusuo uses psychic energy to fire a projectile. In the instant Kusuo makes his move, Kusuke had already predicted it, calculating the bullet's trajectory, the angle, and the ricochet path before it even happens. He comes within millimeters of a perfect counter. Even if he was slightly off, the reasoning process is what matters here, because Kusuke was mentally running through complex physics, predictions, and reactions within a fraction of a second, a showcase of his high fluid intelligence. We also see this in his reasoning feats, when Kusuo, once presumed dead, suddenly reappears in front of him. Kusuke methodically tests every possible explanation, resurrection, illusions, etc. Within moments, he eliminates each one and deduces the truth, that this Kusuo came from another timeline, a perfect display of his abductive reasoning. But on top of this, Kusuke's memory complements his adaptability. He recalls exact numbers and outcomes from thousands of games he's played against Kusuo, rock, paper, scissors, card games, video games, each tracked with perfect precision, down to the number of times specific hands were used. That level of recall, combined with his rapid reasoning, shows a mind that retrieves and applies memory instantly when needed. So with these feats side by side, while Light's adaptability and reasoning are remarkable, they're edged out by Kusuke's instinctive logic and rapid pattern recognition. Next, we have crystallized intelligence. Let's start with Light again. Light was a model student in high school and even got perfect grades on his college entrance exam. However, beyond general academics, Light is well versed in psychology, a skill he applies constantly. He uses this knowledge to act inconspicuous around trained detectives, manipulate Naomi Musara with superior communication skills, and gaslight her into revealing her identity by feigning reluctance for her to join the investigation. His technical skills are also a form of crystallized intelligence, as he is proficient enough in hacking to access his father's classified police files. But on the other hand, Kusuke was able to speak fluently and hold full conversations just 1 month after being born. By the age of 2, he had already mastered writing and mathematics typically taught in the first few years of school. This rapid accumulation of foundational knowledge allowed him to skip high school entirely and enroll in Cambridge University at 14, ultimately earning his master's degree by by 17 while working towards a PhD. However, on top of basic academics, he possesses an expert and likely unparalleled understanding of advanced scientific principles. He demonstrates knowledge of temporal mechanics and has built his own time machine, a feat requiring a grasp of theoretical physics far beyond modern science. Furthermore, Kusuke's crystallized intelligence is most prominently displayed through his learned skills in invention and reverse engineering. As a middle schooler, he was already building robots from scrap. More impressively though, he was able to investigate his brother's psychic abilities, figure out how they function, and invent devices like the power limiters and the telepath canceller to directly interact and regulate them. To achieve this, Kusuke would have needed to accumulate and apply PhD level knowledge in a multitude of fields, including neuroscience to understand the brain's role, theoretical physics to comprehend the nature of psychic energy, and advanced bioengineering to create technology that could safely interface with a human body and suppress such power. His ability to outfit an entire town with advanced technology like powered suits and advanced medicine further proves his mastery over a wide range of scientific and engineering disciplines. So, while Light's knowledge in academics, psychology, and hacking is notable, Kusuke's operate on a different scale. Kusuke's mastered advanced academics to a PhD level by age 17 and applied his knowledge to invent impossible physics-defying technology like a time machine and devices that regulate psychic powers. And on top of that, he has shown to be able to apply his knowledge of physics in real time when calculating Kusuo's bullet trajectory. So with all that being said, Kusuke would take crystallized intelligence and therefore general intelligence as a whole. Switching gears from general intelligence to emotional intelligence, the matchup takes an interesting turn, as Kusuke's feats mostly come from a handful of moments, but they still demonstrate every corner of the ability model. In mostly every scene Kusuke is with Kusuo, his telepathy is completely blocked, but Kusuke still responds flawlessly to every thought Kusuo has, as if the connection were intact. At face value, this just looks like a gag, and you even forget he can't hear what we're hearing from the anime or reading in the manga. But when you break it down, all these moments show how layered his emotional intelligence really is. First, Kusuke decodes Kusuo's micro-expressions and context cues instantly. Without any direct communication, he interprets emotion and intent perfectly. An insanely advanced perception, reading the smallest fragments of behavior like nothing at all. Then, he doesn't just read, but he maintains the natural rhythm of the conversation. His timing, tone, and pacing all match Kusuo's mental flow, letting the exchange feel completely seamless. Kusuke uses emotional cues to stabilize interactions and guiding the mood without ever showing confusion. But underneath all of that, he's interpreting why Kusuo would say certain things. He's predicting his brother's feeling, frustration, and subtext, applying full theory of mind reasoning to an unspoken degree. The same applies when he teases Teruhashi. His single, perfectly timed offer lands exactly when her anxiety peaks, because he's mapping her emotional process down to the second and uses her image against her. So while most of Kusuke's emotional feats stem from these situations, those display of control and awareness checks nearly every box of perception, facilitation, and understanding at once. Normally, we'd go through each category and compare them directly with Light's own feats, but in this case, Kusuke simply outclasses Light entirely. However, when it comes to manipulation and general tactics, Kusuke doesn't display many direct feats in those areas. So this is where Light regains the spotlight. Heading to manipulation, starting again with Light. We go back to his manipulation of REM, and to explain Light's intricate methodology behind it. Light had planned and predicted many of the ongoing events around this time, so after Higuchi's death, the task force retrieved the Death Note and had all touched it to be able to see REM, and as it would logically follow, Elle continued to interrogate REM in different ways, attempting to deduce more about the nature of how the Death Note works and to confirm his hypothesis of Light being Kira and Misa being the second Kira. REM was the only clue right now, but Rem didn't want to endanger Misa, so she had to work in unison to Light's will and just deny knowing the answer to any of L's questions. But when it came to asking about the context of the deal that would allow someone with a death note an extra advantage when using it, Light paved the way for Rem to agree by claiming that it was easy to deduce that the eyes that the second Kira spoke about was some sort of contract that allow you to see someone's name in order to utilize a death note immediately and skip the process of information gathering. With this, he was slowly helping L strive further towards discovering that the 13-day rules was fake, and by contrast, Rem, who was watching this, would realize the repercussions of this action as well. Having this set up, Light simply had to wait as Misa reconnected with Luke and came back to him, as he had her perfectly under his control. He was ready to force Rem into an impossible gambit, as L was ready to test out the 13-day rule to confirm its truthfulness, since without it, all his deductions would be logical, and hence he would execute Misa for her crimes. Rem rushed to kill Watari and L, stopping this process from happening, which prolonged Misa's life and sacrificed Rem's instead. This was the result of the meticulous planning and complex manipulation methodology Light deployed, as Rem was stuck between losing the one person who made her happy or dying for their sake. And in the pinch of the moment, Rem chose the latter. And as I said earlier, there is little to no instances where Kusuke has shown a complex manipulation methodology like this. But it doesn't end there, as we are moving on to planning and strategy, or I like to call it general tactics. But per usual, Light's tactics will be judged with deception in mind, as it's a large scheme that encompasses his planning and strategy capabilities, that being memory loss. Light's tactic during the Yotsuba arc is arguably the most complex and layered plan in the Death Note series, showcasing his tactical brilliance under absolute constraint. So let me move on to summarizing how this memory loss plan worked. After realizing L was closing in, Light preemptively set a chain of events designed to clear his name while guaranteeing his eventual return as Kira. He began by planting 2 fake rules in the Death Note, crafted by Luke to appear legitimate under Shinigami law. These rules would later serve as logical traps to protect him from suspicion. Light then gave up ownership of the notebook, losing his memories but keeping his natural reasoning intact. This move ensured that when imprisoned by L, he would appear completely innocent, even under surveillance. Meanwhile, Rem, acting under Light's earlier instructions, passed the notebook to a new Kira, Higuchi, whose greed and ambition perfectly matched Light's criteria. This allowed killings to resume while Light was detained, creating the illusion that he couldn't possibly be Kira. Once released, Light worked alongside L on the very case designed to catch himself, gaining insider access while staying under suspicion's radar. Eventually, during Higuchi's capture, Light reclaimed the notebook, instantly recovering his memories and executing Higuchi on the spot using a hidden Death Note scrap concealed in his watch, a contingency placed long before. The brilliance of this entire setup lies in its self-sustaining logic loop. The fake rules protected Light and Misa. The ownership chain created a false Kira trail, and the entire investigation unfolded exactly as he predicted. Even L, the world's greatest detective, was cornered by Light's web of psychological manipulation and layered foresight. While luck did play a part, Light's ability to anticipate every countermeasure and weaponize even his own memory loss makes this one of the most ingenious tactical maneuvers in anime history. So, when comparing these two geniuses, it's important to separate intellectual capacity from strategic execution. Kusuke's intelligence is unquestionably beyond human, but intelligence alone doesn't always translate to victory in a battle of wits. Light, on the other hand, has repeatedly proven that he can weaponize intelligence through general tactics, manipulation, and deception, or in other words, functional outsmarting that decide a true outsmarting match. While Kusuke can process faster, Light can scheme better. His mind thrives under uncertainty and psychological warfare, turning limited information and risk into long-term control. His Yotsuba strategy, memory loss gambit, and manipulation of Rem all show his intelligence is applied and layered. So overall, while Kusuke may surpass Light in pure intellect and emotional intelligence, Light's ability to plan, deceive, and manipulate under pressure makes the gap one-sided, which is why Light versus Kusuke is not close at all.